The two actresses caught up in the Varsity Blues college bribery scandal are trying very different strategies tonight. Felicity Huffman has pleaded guilty already. Carlson Loughlin, though, is choosing to fight the charges. Trace Gallagher is tracking the developments here.
It really sounds like Carlson Loughlin and her husband, the fashion designer Massimo Gianelli, really didn't underestimate her. They underestimated the serious charges they're facing, and now they're underestimating how motivated prosecutors are. When they were first charged with bribing their daughters into the University of Southern California by having them designated as recruits of the crew team, despite never having competed in the sport, they were offered a plea deal but turned it down because it included mandatory jail time. Then they got hit with another charge of money laundering with a max sentence of 20 years, and People magazine is now reporting at that point Loughlin and Gianelli wanted to negotiate, but prosecutors took the deal off the table, so they had no choice but to plead guilty. Now, that's significant because both charges carry 20 years each. First-time offenders are never going to get 40 years, but experts say it's possible they could get 4 to 6 years. Neither Loughlin or Gianelli have commented on the allegations, but even if this does not go to trial and prosecutors decide to cut an 11th-hour plea deal, experts say it looks like Loughlin and her husband will serve years, not months. On the other hand, actress Felicity Huffman, who has already pleaded guilty to boosting her daughter's SAT score and expressed remorse, is looking at maybe a few months behind bars. And now there are reports that adult students involved in the cheating scandal could also face criminal charges. That's on top of their applications being rejected, potentially being kicked out of school, or even having their diplomas revoked. Though legal experts say it's going to be a lot more difficult to prove the students knew their parents were cheating on their behalf. But it gets more interesting as we go along in days, Tucker.
Oh, what a story. Trace Gallagher, thank you for that. Every year, American colleges seem to teach less but charge more. The price of a college degree has been going up faster than inflation for many years. But as the recent Varsity Blues scandal shows, some people are willing to spend still more, thousands, even millions more, to ensure their child gets a seat at a particular university. Why is this? Mike Rowe has spent years calling out colleges for wasting the time and money of students and their parents. He's got a brand new book coming out called The Way I Heard It, which you can pre-order, and you should, because it's amazing. But in the meantime, he joins us in the flesh. Mike Rowe joins us tonight. Mike Rowe, thanks very much for coming on. So I've been wanting for the past 2 weeks to get your view of this college scandal because it intersects with so many things you've been talking about for so long. What's your view of it?
Well, the first and obvious thing to say is I'm outraged. Everybody's outraged. But yeah, you step back and you look at it, you know, I think it's fair to say what is most outrageous? Like, what are we really angry about? Cheaters are bad. Cheaters are bad because when people cheat, people who don't cheat get taken advantage of, and that's just fundamentally not fair. We all get that. But rich cheaters seem to really upset us, especially. And I think part of what's crystallized the outrage around the story is the fact that the people who most egregiously cheated had an awful lot of money. And for my money, you know, as I stepped back to look at it, I was like, well, yeah, that is kind of disgusting. But where is the outrage for the cost of college in general? I mean, you don't have to be rich or famous to believe that your kid is doomed to fail if they don't get a 4-year degree. There are millions of parents in the country right now, millions, who genuinely feel that if they don't do everything they can to get their kid into a good school, they will fail the kid. So where's the outrage for the pressure that we put on a 17-year-old to borrow $100,000? You know, so much of that pressure comes from their mom and dad. It's well-intended, but it's kind of tragic. And where's the outrage for the guidance counselors who continually say the best path for the most people just happens to be the most expensive? And the politicians and the lobbyists who exacerbate the same myth, and the employers who still insist on only interviewing people with a 4-year degree. We set the table in a pretty self-evident way, and when we scratch our heads, you're exactly right. The cost of tuition has increased faster than inflation, but also faster than health care, faster than real estate, faster than food, faster than energy. Never before in the history of Western civilization has anything so potentially important become so egregiously expensive. So, Yeah, college is expensive because we freed up an unlimited pile of free money and told an entire generation they were doomed to fail if they didn't borrow it. And that's happened in every single tax bracket, not just the top one.
No, that's exactly right. So we really shouldn't be surprised, as you just said, when people who can try and game the system that's been described to them since day one as the most important, as the gates to success in America. Why even now when so many people know the system is a scam, are so few people saying so?
I think because we're stuck in this perpetual binary box. It's this or that, right? It's blue collar or white collar, good job or bad job, higher education or alternative education. And when you only have two choices, or when you think you only have two choices, then you do one thing at the expense of the other. So, for instance, I know we've talked about this before, but it just seems so clear now. When four-year degreed universities needed a PR campaign 40 years ago, they got one. But the PR came at the expense of all other forms of education. So it wasn't just, hey, Tucker, go get your liberal arts degree because it will give you a broad-based appreciation for the humanities. It was, if you don't go get that degree, you're going to wind up over here turning a wrench or running a welding torch or doing some kind of vocational consolation prize. We promoted the one thing at the expense of all of the others, and that one thing just happened to be the most expensive thing. And so, look, I don't think the skills gap is a mystery. I think it's a reflection of what we value. 7 million jobs are available now. Most of them don't require a four-year degree. They require training. And yet we're obsessed, not really with education. You know, what we're obsessed with is credentialing. And so people are buying diplomas and they're buying their degrees. It's a diploma dilemma, honestly, and it's expensive and it's getting worse. And it's not just the kids who are holding the note. You know, it's us. We're underwriting.
You're totally right. And Felicity Huffman, who believed all the nonsense that, you know, she's been told for 40 years. We shall listen to you on this because you are right.
Look,
Mike Rowe, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.